Quote, "The unicorn is many things. No two people will see the same unicorn, though one may be seen by many. Mortals see it and call it shy, fierce, proud, free, the spirit of magic, the spirit of unconformity, the symbol of purity, truth, change, goodness, chaos, innocence, grace, beauty, secrecy, and 1,000 other things. There is truth in each of these, but each of them alone is not enough, and all the words that could be spoken would not a unicorn describe." Hey guys, this video is sponsored by World of Warships. If you want to support the channel, make sure to download the game and make an account for free using my promo link in the description below. The game is actually pretty fun. I played it all day yesterday and honestly I had a blast. You can choose what type of ship you want to use. They have really slow but very powerful ships all the way to really fast and sneaky ships that blow you up from behind. You level up when you play and you can unlock upgrades for your ship. Go ahead and try it out. It's free and really fun. If you want to support me, however, make sure to download the game and make an account specifically using my promo link in the description below. The unicorns are the stuff of myths, magical, fantastical creatures that dwell in enchanted forests, their white form glimmering like starlight. Suffice to say, a physical description is not necessary, for everybody knows what a unicorn is. To put it too simply, basically a horse with a horn. Though that's not true at all, actually. In fact, a unicorn is actually closer to a chimera than a horse, for they are actually a combination of a small number of animals, even if you might not see it at first. But before we start unraveling this creature, let's actually go through first what the monster manual actually tells us about unicorns. First things first, they tell us that unicorns have a single spiraling horn of ivory whose magical touch can heal the sick and injured. It says here that its ears catch the words and whispers of the creatures that share its domain. It allows good-hearted creatures to enter their woods to hunt or gather food, but they hold evil ever at bay. It goes on to say that unicorns many times over are placed there by gods, meant to ward away evil and preserve and protect sacred places. Sometimes they are sent to guard a specific artifact, but sometimes they're sent to aid and protect a person. These gods tend to be deities of the forest, including really powerful Fey lords. Those unicorns who do happen to serve these nature gods faithfully are rewarded with abilities, like being able to cast cleric spells. It expands here on what they already touched on, where they say that the unicorns know everything that happens in its forest, every single tune that is sung, every word that is spoken, every single caterpillar that spins its cocoon, and every butterfly that flutters its wings. The unicorn sees it all. There is a pervasive calmness in the forest. All the animals within tend to be tame, and all the sylvan creatures of the forest serve the unicorn in helping protect this calmness. It says here that the horn of the unicorn is sacred, and it is the focus of its power, a shard of divine magic wrought in spiraling ivory. Wands of unicorn horn channel powerful magic, while unicorn horn weapons strike with divine force. Wizards can work powdered unicorn horn into potent potions and scroll ink, or use it as a component in eldritch rituals. Lastly, it says here that when darkness and evil threaten to overwhelm the mortal world, the gods sometimes see it fit to pair a unicorn mount with a champion. A paladin astride a unicorn is a sign of the gods' direct intervention in the affairs of the mortal realm. Now we have some extra effects that the presence of the unicorn provides in the forest which are incredibly interesting, like the fact that open flames of a non-magical nature are extinguished within the unicorn's domain. Creatures inside of the forest can hide easily from others, and healing spells are stronger within the forest when the source is good-hearted. Lastly, curses affecting good people are suppressed while within the forest. We can also see in its stat block that unicorns have a plethora of abilities, not just from natural and cleric spells, but from the horn itself. More importantly is the teleport ability, which the unicorn's description did not actually cover. In fact, the unicorn has had the ability to teleport since the first edition of Dungeons & Dragons, and its teleport ability is actually quite stronger than the conventional one, but we will cover that in just a bit. Let's go and actually see what the monster manual does not tell you about unicorns. The first thing that we will cover is the physical description of the unicorn, which we didn't really get. The only thing that the monster manual actually says is that it resembles a horse, and it does. I mean, look at it, it basically does look like a horse, but artist renditions don't tell the whole story. We actually have to go into the actual official description of the unicorn to see how they actually behave and how different they really are from horses. See, the first thing is the tail. Unicorns don't actually have horse tails. Instead, their tail is supposed to look like this. This is the original unicorn as it was shown and described in the first edition. It's not just here though, this is how it looked in the third edition as well. The unicorn is described as having the tail of a lion or a boar, not the tail of a horse. Now, the monster manual does show you this one, but their chin is supposed to have the beard of a goat. What they don't tell you is that only male unicorns have the beard. In fact, it is mainly the only way to really tell a male unicorn from a female, and that is whether they have the beard or not. Now, this part is interesting. Unicorns have cloven hooves, which is not what horses have. This is what a horse hoof looks like, and this is a cloven hoof. Cloven hooves is what cattle, deer, sheep, and goats have, and it is what unicorns have. Now, to summarize, unicorns might look like horses from a simple point of view, but in reality, they have parts from many different animals scattered in their body unbeknownst to many people. The crazy thing, though, is that I still haven't told you the biggest one yet. A unicorn, and this is gonna blow your mind, does not gallop. A unicorn does not run like a horse does. Instead, they trot like deer do, with those prancing like hops that you have probably seen. Yes, that's how unicorns move through the forest. In fact, it is stated that the trots and skips of a unicorn can be high enough to completely go over a full human. Now, going even further with their description, we're told that when the light of the sun reflects off of their horn, it actually creates a bit of a prismatic effect, creating rainbow hues that spread across the glade. We're also told that one of the most interesting things about them is that they don't really have a defined eye color. Adventurers who claim to have seen the same unicorn always have different descriptions of their eyes, and most claim to actually not remember what their eye color was. In reality, the eye color of a unicorn changes all the time, sometimes even whilst you're looking at it. But other than that, descriptions differ depending on the unicorn. Some unicorns have silver or golden hooves, sometimes different colors. The same thing with the mane, it is many times different and it is dependent on the unicorn. As far as the body hair color is concerned though, most unicorns are white, but there have been reports of gray, silver, and gold as well. The Thayans from Faerun have actually managed to corrupt unicorns using demonic blood and dark rituals, turning otherwise normal unicorns into black unicorns. These ones look like normal unicorns except that they're black and they're bloodthirsty and wholly evil. Their horns, instead of being conduits to healing, are conduits to pain and misery. Interestingly enough, the black unicorns are actually a big part of the Thayan military, with them having entire battalions of unicorn riders. Now, in spite of their mystique and powers, if you look at the stat block for the unicorn, you will see that they're not geniuses. In fact, their intelligence is actually pretty average. This is probably one of the most jarring things about actually meeting a fabled unicorn, is that when you actually speak to it, many actually come out of that conversation not being particularly impressed with the intelligence of the creature. In fact, many sages in the world claim that as well. If you were to read about a unicorn in a library in Faerun, it would say that they're not smart at all. The thing about unicorns is that they don't really know much about the human world or really much about what's going on outside of the forest. Even simple things like how to make bread or how to make a campfire would actually be difficult for the unicorn to process, in the same way that it would probably be for a normal person who has never actually made bread or made a campfire in the first place, let alone an average human who has lived its entire life in the forest. Trying to have an intelligent conversation with a unicorn about things from outside of the forest is a fool's errand. You're not really gonna get much from that. On the other hand, if you were to ask the right questions, things could be completely different. Quote, "Their knowledge is not of building fires and laying stone, but of the nature of living things. The wisdom learned from watching the stars pass in the night. The endless cycle of nature repeated again and again, yet differently every time. They know what is in the heart of a man or a woman, and can read meaning into the turn of the wind, the fall of a leaf, the sigh of a child. meanings no one else knows. Deadly they love secrets, and dearly they keep them." End quote. They obtained this wisdom not just through their celestial powers, but by being exceptionally old. In fact, no one actually knows how old a unicorn can actually live for it has never been catalogued. Many elves have heard stories from their ancestors about unicorns that they still see nowadays out there in the wild, meaning that unicorns live far longer than elves do. And as far as dryads, pixies, sprites, and the like are concerned, unicorns have always been there. In fact, creatures of the forest will tell you that the only ones who are possibly older than the unicorns are the treants, but not even they remember that far back in time to be able to factually say. Not even a unicorn itself would be able to tell you how old it is, for not even they know. Time works differently for a unicorn than it does for a human. See, if time means little to an elf who lives for so long, it literally means nothing to a unicorn who seemingly seems to live forever. That compiled with the fact that a unicorn experiences life differently than a mortal. I mentioned it before in the last quote, but a unicorn will always experience something unique whenever it experiences an event, regardless of how many times it has experienced that event. A unicorn could watch the same movie 1,000 times, and each time it would feel unique and new to it because it would always see new things in every scene. This is one of the natural celestial powers of the unicorn that allows it to see the wonders of the world in a new form every single time. So to a unicorn, every day is unique and special, and there is no repetition and no mundaneness. What this actually translates to in terms of time management is that the unicorn literally has none. The unicorn has no concept of time. In fact, it has been plainly stated that a unicorn would not be able to tell you a week has passed if you were to ask it. It is also interesting that unicorns don't really age either, as in, they don't particularly show signs of how old they really are. At least they don't for 99% of their lifespan. Instead, they only age when they are weeks away from dying. It is when they are at the very cusp of death that they will start showing signs of aging, slowing down, sickness, and fatigue. It is, of course, until they actually do die. Now, unicorns do mate, and they do reproduce, and when they do, they mate for life. They also reproduce in the way that you would expect a horse or a deer to do it. It's the same thing. Thing is, this is one of the rarest things that you would ever experience. I mean, again, we don't even know how old a unicorn can get, and they might only reproduce once or twice during their lifetime. So actually experiencing a new unicorn being born, well, yeah, entire generations of elves would go by before you would even hear of one. But when it does happen, it is said that there are riot-like celebrations all around the forest. Now, let's talk about hobbies. I mean, what do unicorns do when they're just relaxing in the forest? Well, first of all, they eat. They are herbivores, so they eat grass and honeysuckle, sweet roots, and bark. What's really interesting is that if for some reason food were to be scarce, which sounds impossible for the most part, but if it were to be the case, it is described that unicorns have the special ability to actually obtain sustenance from the air itself. To an onlooker, it would look as if the unicorn was drinking the wind. The favorite places for unicorns to relax under are places with still ponds, the types of ponds that would reflect light. This is because unicorns are exceptionally vain creatures, and one of their favorite things to do is literally just to look at their reflection. They love to gaze upon themselves and admire themselves. Other than that, they scout their forest and protect it. That's basically what they do most of the time. A typical unicorn or family of unicorn will etch out a territory of approximately 400 square miles. That's 20 miles by 20 miles. And in that territory, they will etch out and carved out runes into the trees. These runes can be read by sylvan creatures, and it will denote that the forest is under the unicorn's protection. The runes are typically enough to ward off evil fae or other bad entities into entering the forest lest they anger the unicorn. In fact, once a forest has been claimed by a unicorn or a family of unicorn, no other unicorn will enter the forest either. The area that they generally protect is fairly big, but an interesting power of the unicorn is its ability to cover extremely long distances in a single sprint. See, a unicorn's strength is almost endless. It is said that they can run for days without tiring at full speed. and with their trotting, they can pass through even the densest of forests without a problem. Even dragons tire after flying for a day, but a unicorn can go for many. In fact, a popular saying amongst humanoids is chasing the unicorn in reference to someone who is wasting their time, and catching the unicorn to mean someone trying to do the impossible. Other than these things, a unicorn actually enjoys making friends with the woodland creatures, but it is generally fairly picky with who it relates to. For the most part, the unicorn feels closest with elves and fairies, who the unicorn will converse with many times over. To a lesser extent, a unicorn will still be fairly friendly with the treants, dryads, satyrs, nymphs, pixies, and sprites who will get to see the unicorn fairly regularly. But apart from those, for the most part, no one else will really ever get to see the unicorn. Even if you are a kind-hearted person, the unicorn will do its best to generally stay away. Having the unicorn show itself to you is considered to be a huge blessing and something to actually feel honored by. That being said, there is a catch. Now, everyone in the forest knows, if you were to ask a dryad or a pixie, that there is a type of person that the unicorn is more likely to show itself to. And that is little girls. Or well, at least the stories go that little girls have an unnaturally way higher chance of meeting the fabled unicorn, though the reality is that this is actually the case for any maid. That being, any female virgin, whether young or old, actually has a way higher chance of meeting the unicorn. In fact, it goes even further. Whenever a unicorn is feeling particularly lonely, it may appear to a maiden girl of good heart, and if this happens, the unicorn may allow itself to be ridden by the woman. If she accepts and is respectful about it, a powerful magical bond will be formed between the two. The girl will be the unicorn's rider, and the unicorn will be her majestic steed, and until the end of her life, the unicorn will be with her. The bond will be strong enough that the unicorn will be more than happy to even leave its forest if the woman rider were to ask it to. The bond will last until the end of her life, or until the moment the woman sees herself as the master of the unicorn, which is a big no-no, or until the moment she stops being good of heart. Now, this part you actually might have not known, but a unicorn will only ever allow a girl to ride it, never a man. And when she chooses the maiden woman, she will not let any other girl ride it either. This interesting factoid is also the case for the dark black unicorns possessed by the Thayan military. In Thay, all the black unicorn riders are female, as those dark unicorns will only allow evil human females or evil drow females to be their partners. Now, as far as the powers of a unicorn go, most people know the basics. Their horns can heal the wounded and cure the sick. The monster manual also lets us know that if they are particularly close to a nature god, that they can also get access to powerful clerical spells. Now, of course, in the D&D world, the true power of a unicorn is the stuff of stories. That's because, well, nobody really knows the full extent of their power. There are many stories of not just the horn healing people, but of unicorns straight up reviving people from the dead. There are also many uses for the horn of the unicorn in all kinds of magical rituals, but the horns are so rare and the magics so complicated that no one really has been able to study this. As an example, a wizard king about 1,000 years ago in Faerun realized that it could use the blood of a dozen unicorns to make enchantments permanent, and it created one of the strongest spellbooks in the world in the process. But yeah, as far as the potential of unicorns as ritual components, nobody truly knows. What we actually do know is the power of the horn of the unicorn while the unicorn is alive. See, the truth of it is that the unicorn actually has the ability to produce any cleric spell of any level once a day with its horn. The power of the ability created by the horn is so strong that it will actually produce itself immediately regardless of traditional casting times. The caveat is that the unicorn may only use this incredibly powerful ability when another creature is, quote, in extremis, end quote. In extremis is a Latin phrase meaning in the farthest reaches, or at the point of death. Essentially, the unicorn may only use this completely overpowered broken ability only to save another entity, and only as a last resort. Now, in terms of what the horn of a unicorn can do as an item, that being if you happen to have the literal horn of a unicorn in your hand, the only things we do actually know is that it'll work as a cure for toxins and poisons, even for certain diseases. We also know that the powder of the horn can be used by alchemists to create up to 12 strong magical healing potions, and that a typical unicorn horn can sell for up to 2,000 gold pieces in the black market. Now, lastly, as far as powers are concerned, is the incredible teleport that unicorns possess. See, this is the reason why in stories and fables, you feel like you saw the unicorn for like a microsecond and then it was just gone, right? Or why an adventurer might see the beautiful backside of one entering a grove of trees, only for the adventurer to quickly run behind it and have the unicorn just be gone. Unicorns are supposed to never be seen, and generally speaking, when people do, they only get a small glimpse before the creature is no longer there. See, the unicorn's teleportability is special in that it is extraordinarily fast, faster than any other type of teleport. It obviously doesn't require any somatic or verbal components, but it also happens as soon as the unicorn wishes it to be. In fact, many times, it actually happens more as a natural reaction rather than as an actual thought-out decision of the unicorn. It is very explicitly described that if an evil person were to attempt to, for example, shoot an arrow at a unicorn, the unicorn could teleport before the arrow even reaches it, completely evading the attack. Essentially, the normal 4 to 6 seconds that it normally takes a fast caster to cast a teleport spell, a unicorn can do in less than 1. I would like to personally thank my Patreon supporters Rucadofan, Nemesis Ryzen, Dr. Cowbell, Major Fail Gaming, Wyatt Curlin, Barry Maskant, 5E Magic Shop, Anthony Clias, Ryan Ward, Jog Jaguth, Lord of Dreams, Daniel Umar, Morgan Johnson, Zach Bowell, Max D, Simon Holman, Rusty Rain, and Mediocre at Best for supporting me on Patreon at the $25 level. If you would like to support me as well, then please head on over to patreon.com/MrRhexx to support. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to go and watch the entire playlist for my Dungeons & Dragons series if you still haven't already. All the videos, I promise you, are as good as this one. If you like this one, you're gonna like those ones as well. Also, make sure to follow me on Twitter and leave me a comment below telling me what you liked about the video and what monster you want to hear from me next. Also, once again, try out World of Warships. It would help me out, actually, if you do. It's my first sponsorship, so, you know, I wanted to do good if possible. All you have to do is just click the link below. It'll take you into their website, and then you just download the game and make an account. And then, of course, you have to, like, activate the account using your email, and I get credit for that. That's all you have to do. And, of course, I would suggest playing the game. It's actually really fun. I had a blast doing it yesterday. But other than that, yeah, thank you so much for watching the video, and I hope that you have a great day. Bye-bye.